Back on Get Up, and we are 100 days away from the start of the college football season. That is as the calendar currently stands right now. The commissioner of the Big 12, Bob Bowlsby, told ESPN his conference needs to be up and running by mid-July in order to have a chance to start the season on time. Bob has been a voice that has exercised as much candor through this process as anyone I've heard from, and he's good enough to spend a few minutes with us live here. So, Bob, I appreciate that very much. And let's just dive right into it. What kinds of things need to be in place in your mind for the Big 12 to be able to open up as a conference?
Well, I think it's the same for us as it is for everyone. And the A5 commissioners have spent a lot of time together over the last 3 months. You know, it's 100 days till football, but it's easy to forget that it's only been 70 days since we canceled our basketball tournament. So we're still in the process of procedural planning, and there's a lot that goes into it. Obviously, we have to have testing available and probably need to be able to test every 2 or 3 days. And we're not likely to want to draw away from other more essential testing needs. So it's important that the number and availability of tests continue to go up. We have to know how to triage when we have episodes on our campuses, whether or not it's within the athletic environment or within the university at large. And after that, we have to be able to manage treatment and make sure that people are well cared for. We have to do a significant amount of work on disinfecting weight rooms and locker rooms and training rooms. Hospital quality disinfectant needs to be the rule of the day. And then, of course, just like everyone else in our society, we have to do social distancing. And that's not easy to do in team meetings and in chalk talks and in film sessions. And so there are just an awful lot of things that we have to think about that have never been factors before. And so there is going to be a new normal. I'm confident that we're going to have a chance to play some football in the fall. And as you said in the opening, we need about 6 weeks to get ready for it. We need a couple weeks of reacclimation and then probably 4 weeks of preseason camp like we've traditionally had.
So those would be the circumstances for the players and the staff and the coaches. And then we turn our attention to the fans, which is made up both of students in the student body and any number of other people. Where do you stand on the idea of playing games with few or even no fans in the stands?
Well, you know, I think that's a great question. And, you know, I think there is a number of different aspects to it. The psychology of public assembly, I think, is going to be an interesting thing to watch. Are people really going to want to go into stadiums and sit cheek by jowl with people they don't know after what our society has gone through? The level of confidence in public assembly is relatively low right now. So even if you can come up with a system that allows it, how exactly do you go about encouraging people to go into stadiums again? And if you have to have social distancing, as others have said, that means you take an 80,000 seat stadium and it becomes a 20,000 seat stadium. Who gets in? Who has priority? How does the entry and exit take place? How do you manage the lines at the restroom? How do you manage the lines at the concession stand? As difficult as it is to disinfect a locker room or a weight room, can you imagine the Herculean task of disinfecting an entire stadium? It's got some components that, just as a matter of scale, are very difficult. And this is all brand new. It's unprecedented. And I think over the long haul, you know, this will affect locker room design and it'll affect weight room design. And it may involve amendments to safety equipment, helmets, and, you know, wearing screens over your face. And there will be a new normal. We don't know exactly what that new normal will entail, but we have to be ready to evolve because change is here, and we aren't going back where we were before. It's going to be a new day.
So those are the things that we can do if indeed we can play. Then you get to the circumstances where things of major scale have to be changed. How open are you to major scheduling changes based upon the circumstances?
Well, I'd repose the question to say how reasonable will the virus be and in allowing us to do those kinds of things, because this is going to be around like chickenpox and HIV and SARS. It isn't going away, and we'll eventually have an effective vaccine that will mitigate some of the ramifications for people in my age group. I had to watch television to find out that I was actually elderly, but I don't have any underlying health issues. But people my age are probably going to take pause before they go into public assembly environments. And so, I just think that it's going to be a fascinating thing to watch. Sports is such a part of our culture and such a sign of the American psyche that I just think we do need to get back to it as quickly as we can and as close to what we had previously as possible. But we also have to remember one thing. The virus is going to define how this progresses. We will have disruptions during the season. I fully expect that we'll have an outbreak on Wednesday afternoon, and games may need to be canceled on Saturday. We'll need to understand shutdown procedures and how we go about quarantining when the need arises. Campuses are petri dishes for the delivery of viruses, and when the flu, cold, and virus season comes back, we'll have some challenges on our hands. And so I just think we have to be patient. I think we have to be thoughtful and make sure that we keep student athlete health and safety first and foremost, and of course all the people around it. Yesterday, as an example, we spent a lot of time talking about how we safeguard our officials, who many of whom are in the age category that would be at some risk. So how do you safeguard your officials and your game management personnel, even if you get the opportunity to hit the field with two teams of healthy athletes? So it's just there's 100 little components that go into it. We're part of the way through that. The complexity of doing this within higher education is surely adds to the complexity and the scale. And so, it's I think the worst thing we can do is presume that we have all the answers right now. We don't. We know it. And we have learned a lot in the last 30 days, and we'll learn a lot in the next 30 days, and we'll put one foot in front of the other.
Another thing, Bob, that's clear is that it isn't the same everywhere. So how open are you as the commissioner to the idea that some schools in your conference could be playing games while others cannot?
Well, I think you have to assume that. We have long coveted this level playing field, competitive equity, if you will. It's mostly a mirage to begin with, because some cities have more advantages, some universities have more advantages, some states have more good recruits. So I think it's a little bit of a mirage. But the fact is, these are local issues, and they're going to have to be dealt with locally. Governors, public health officials, and mayors are going to deal with the issues in their locality, and so are university presidents when they make decisions relative to their campuses. And so I think we're going to have to get comfortable with the fact that everybody may not be able to start on time, and everybody may not be able to continue without interruption. And we're just going to have to deal with those things. And, if we get to the middle of the football season and one conference has a significant outbreak with 4 or 5 teams infected, it may be that we have to go to plan B or plan C or plan D. But we're starting out to play a regular football season and to get teams ready. And as has been mentioned earlier in the show, kids want to play, coaches want to coach, fans want to watch. And we'll just have to see how the whole thing plays itself out. But we haven't been told that we can't do anything and that we can't move forward to plan for the fall. And so until we are told that, we're gonna keep trying to do the things that it takes to be ready.
Bob, one final question, and I so appreciate all of your candor here with us this morning. We understand that there are literally billions of dollars at stake in college football this season. Maybe we've never talked about it more than we've talked about it over the last few weeks. And the players are essential to that. The word essential actually fits into the description. How should we reconcile that with the idea of amateurism?
Well, I think much has been made about the economics of the collegiate model, and indeed, programs at our level are very dependent upon the gate receipts and television proceeds, as well as sponsorships and donations that are tied to college football. And so, that's a reality that we cannot deny. Having said that, and it probably sounds a little Pollyanna-ish, but we're not going to do anything that endangers our players, our coaches, our support personnel for the sake of capturing revenue. Playing in empty stadiums if there's any significant amount of risk for the participants is just not a satisfactory solution. And so, first and foremost, health and safety has to be taken into consideration. Beyond that, the reality is if we're not capturing television revenue, it has an impact on broad-based programming. It has an impact on all the other sports that are sponsored in college athletics. And so there is a very real economic impact with the absence of football and the revenue derived from that. Now, the other side of it is if people stay away from stadiums in the main or in any way that looks like what we've had previously, that should have a very positive impact on television viewership, because we know people love their universities and love their college teams, and they're going to try and follow them in any way that they can. But I think it would be very presumptuous of us to do anything other than scenario planning relative to the economic components of it, because it's not going to drive how decisions are made. We're going to make the decisions based upon the best interests of higher education and the best interest of our students, and that certainly includes student athletes.
Bob, I very much appreciate you doing this. Thank you. Best of luck. Stay safe, and we'll be checking in again as you continue to make all of these decisions. I appreciate it very much. The scope of this is almost unbelievable. Bob, thank you very much. I'm out of time. I need to run. Thank you for being here with us this morning. Meanwhile, when